Clubhouse.
Welcome back to Pod Clubhouse's Press Pass coverage of the 2024 edition of Comic Palooza. This is a special edition of that coverage where we will be interviewing the members of d404 Software, Jeremy, Brett, and Stephanie. They have put together an app called Blindsense, which I only saw out of the corner of my eye when I was walking through the expo of Comic Palooza. They had a table set up and they were explaining it to some other passersby. And so I thought I heard something about making Dungeons and Dragons accessible for blind people. As listeners to this podcast might know, we have a deaf-blind daughter living in our house, and I play D&D. And so I thought this is a very interesting project that I wanted to add some amplification to what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for more accessibility. Recreation is one of the most difficult things within the blind and deafblind community, trying to find things to do that are fun. A lot of things are modified for everyday activities like cooking or, maybe bathing or dressing or things like that. But when it comes to fun, there's a real gap out there that we need to fill for what do we do for fun when you have a difficult time with your vision. So let us introduce Brett and Jeremy and Stephanie. This is d404 Software. Hi, you guys.
Hi,
Hey.
thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about who is d404 Software.
d404 Software, we were founded originally in university. We had a senior project that Jeremy and I were working on. It was an idea that I pitched that did really well with among students that wanted to be a part of it. And when our senior semester wrapped up, we looked at each other and thought, well, this is I really care about this a lot. I want to continue this beyond university. Why don't we start networking? Why don't we start gathering resources and really make this a reality? That's was about a year and a half ago, I think, Jeremy.
Yeah, about a year and a half. Right after I graduated and you had another semester left, we worked on our app, tried to get as much together as possible, and eventually, after some time of development, that led us to Comic Palooza, where we had our official unveiling of Blindsense, and we had really, really positive reactions, and we were very, very happy to meet a lot of cool people, you guys included. So yeah, as D404 us, we kind of live by our motto, which is everyone deserves to have fun. We love tabletop gaming. We want as many people as possible to be able to experience the same things we've experienced for however many years, decades combined that we've played tabletop games. We kind of thought that with the amount of technology that's available now, there's no reason for people with disabilities of any kind to not be able to experience the same things that we could. So using the technology we have available and the ease of use that a lot of these things have, we want to spread those experiences to everybody, even people who may have thought that they never would have had the chance to play D&D or other tabletop games. It's very personal to us because we love the space so much that we want to spread it to everybody.
Definitely, I came in a lot later than Brett and Jeremy. Of course, they started at college, and I had met Brett in some of the other classes, so he had reached out a little bit later, and I think the idea is absolutely amazing. Just trying to make sure that we can include everybody in gaming. I mean, it really, as Jeremy said, it just doesn't make sense to have so many barriers to entry for things with all the options we have now.
That's amazing. I love the mission that you're making tabletop gaming accessible for all. How did you guys decide to make a focus on blindness?
I guess what made me think of this at all was I have a friend who her connection with her friends and her connection with her younger brother has always been video gaming. And he has a unique disorder. I think it's Bardet-Biedl syndrome. It's some syndrome named after two doctors. But it's characterized by slowly but surely the person's vision deteriorates and is lost. And so seeing them have the strong connection of playing games like Ocarina of Time or the Nintendo 64, and then him slowly losing that connection with his sister kind of made me think, well, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's a very oral game. So it takes very little, it seems, to bridge that gap to make it fully accessible. So I guess that's really where the root of the idea started.
No, I get it. gaming should be as inclusive as it can be.
And I'm thinking of our own family. We have friends and helpers who have Usher syndrome, which is another situation where you lose your sight over time. So usually you lose your sight by the time you're in your like late 30s, early 40s, that type of thing. So you may have been a gamer in your teens and your 20s, and then now you're losing your access. So that's wonderful. Then another one, obviously the boomer generation. I mean, I'm seeing it with our own family again, just people aging and their vision deteriorating over time, not being able to see colors, not being able to see everything as clearly. So I see this having a great population that is going to be looking for ways to, again, have fun. There's lots of ways to cook, lots of ways to label your clothes, lots of different things. But when it just has to do with having fun, people kind of forget about our population.
Yeah, it has been an amazing experience, I'll say, through the development and meeting everybody. It's been incredible, truly.
Yeah, and the community's been really good, or it seems that it's always fallen on the community to kind of like provide these accessibility options. Like working on our app and networking with other communities, we find people that are making blind accessibility mods for like Minecraft or Stardew Valley, and the wealth of information and support that's out there, like if you just scratch the surface, is quite nice. It's easy to miss, but it is out there.
Yeah, well, and it's with the, like you say, it's up to the fans. Like, how common is it to find like a tabletop game or role-playing game or something where the game company provides the material? Sure, but then it's up to the people that play the game to actually make it usable.
It's so true. Especially like we have brailled Christmas stockings, and a lot of different brailled things are on our house, where we found out after ordering a bunch of times, this was just a family. This was just a family. This was not some big corporation that was taking existing things like Uno cards or something and just brailling them at home and then putting them in a box and then putting it on a website. The company went out of business because the family just aged out. Like they were like, well, we're older people now, and our kids are older, and we just sort of didn't want to do this all the time anymore. So that's crazy to me that no corporation, no bigger gaming company decided to take it over, because there is such a need. So you're so right. People in the community are stuck trying to modify everything. Even if you see it being sold, it's probably just a family behind the scenes trying to do it.
Yes, exactly.
So it sounds like this has been in development for a year or so?
Yeah, about a year. We did some development during the school year as part of our project, but since then we've kind of devoted a lot more time, a lot more research into how blind users use apps and things, and trying to like incorporate that more into the app. And there's been a lot of iterations trying to get kind of hit the sweet spot for what blind users would want, but I think we're at a pretty good spot here after this year of development that we feel good showing it to the world.
So walk us through how gameplay would work with Blindsense at the blind player's side.
Sure. The app is typically used, I'm not sure if you or your listeners are familiar with screen readers and how they work on phones and computers.
Definitely let them know, because we're hoping to reach a lot of different people who maybe this is the first time they've ever heard of anything like this.
Okay, so how a blind user would use like a phone, a smartphone, they would have a utility on their phone turned on. It's called a screen reader. Basically what happens is a small little square will appear on screen, and it will highlight different parts of maybe an app icon or a piece of text, and the phone itself will actually read out, using its speaker and its text-to-speech, it'll read out what is being selected. And either by moving your finger across the screen or swiping, that little square will move across the screen and the phone will tell you what's on the screen. And you can just double tap to select whatever it is that you want to select. Unfortunately, a lot of apps nowadays are not really built for these screen readers, as you need a specific layout for these screen readers to work effectively. That was something that we wanted for sure, was Blindsense to be built from the ground up. All of its menus, all of its layouts, everything is ready and is built for these screen readers, so that blind users who are already used to screen readers on their phones can just open up Blindsense and they already know exactly how to navigate it. You can create a character using the step-by-step process. You can play the game. Everything is at your fingertips, and it is very easy to read and to understand what is on the phone at any given time using the screen reader.
So the app is like their character sheet, and they can use it to say roll virtual dice and keep track of their hit points and saving throws and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, that's exactly right. It is basically a character sheet for blind users, built directly for them.
So they would be able to sit at the table and take part in a live game the same as any other player with this tool that would allow them to easily keep track of their stuff without needing to rely on pen and paper and some other things that might get in their way.
Exactly right. We want a blind user to be able to sit at a table with not just other blind users, but sighted users as well, and be able to just play normally just as any other player would.
Like full autonomy with it. And I want to add this is that it's also a little bit more than a character sheet, because while that is also really nice, there's also times where how much damage does a fireball do? Or
a lot.
like, or what does this item do, or what is this base class? So it also acts as a compendium, so you don't have to rifle through several PDF files that may or may not be very good at accessibility, and you could just search through the app, or either using a voice command or using the blind friendly interface. So
that's
to me, that's a huge one. Yeah, because I'm always, when I'm personally playing games and like I have an idea, I hit a tab and I start Googling, is this legal? Am I allowed? Like, do I know how this works?
Yeah, exactly. I do the same thing. Like, I have wasted so many spells on creatures that it just bounces off them. They're fireproof, whatever.
Oh, gosh,
I know. It's like, oh my God, now I got to wait another half an hour for my turn to come around.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, kind of the going standard in the world is 5e, but that is going to change this year. And there are other games that people like to play. Will the app be customizable for the new rules or other rule sets?
So yes, actually, we're going with 5th edition as well, because that is the rule set for now.
The big dog right now, yeah.
Right, and we've been following the changes with what are they calling it, D&D 1, which is kind of just building off of 5th edition, so that shouldn't be such a huge issue for us. But the big dream is tabletop roleplay games, like in general, especially Jeremy. Jeremy plays a whole bunch of different wild and wacky rule sets. So wanting to incorporate that into our apps that's a big goal of ours. Yes.
That'll broaden it. Believe it or not, you'll probably reach a few of your intended customers that might be like, yeah, I don't like D&D.
Who would not like D&D?
Yeah. Well, it's not to sour them at all, but chances are we are looking at Pathfinder as being the next one, which is more Dungeons and Dragons. But I'm personally a fan of Shadowrun.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a lot of other, I mean, the same kind of thing that happened in the 2000s with the open gaming license is kind of happening now with 5e. There's a lot of games being built on top of that. So it seems like once you get 5e down, except for maybe the compendium part and then the customizations to like the character sheets, the engine, the rest of it is still the same.
Yeah, once we have the strong foundation, just being able to implement other features or to build or to grow with the rule set, it's easier, is what I would say.
Right. Yeah, it's not an automatic, but it's closer.
Have you guys been able to test this with any of your intended audience members? And what's the feedback been so far?
We have a tester that we met on one of these online blind gaming communities. They've been extremely helpful in testing all of our menus, making sure it's fully compatible with screen readers on phones. They've used several phones, thankfully, to test our app. I mean, we really want as many testers as possible. We want to get as much feedback as we can to really nail the ease of use and lower the barriers of entry as much as we can.
It must be challenging to find people, because if that person's already in a blind gaming group, then they're already pretty motivated and have a good understanding of the game and what they're doing. But I can imagine it would be really difficult actually to reach that blind teenager who's at home with their parents and they don't know what they don't know is out there. So
yes,
have you, I mean, that must be a huge challenge for you guys.
Yes, it absolutely is. And that's a reason why we would like to reach out to a lot of these like schools for the blind and rehab centers. We feel like we can hit some more demographics that way and, see who we can meet and who we can reach out to.
Absolutely. I know that the lighthouses for the blind in the various cities have a lot of summer camps and stuff like that. And a lot of kids who don't get to do a lot of things often in the blind community, that might be like their main time as a summer camp time. So I could see where reaching out to these larger, already existing institutional kind of places where you can find where are these people coming to, where are they joining, would be wonderful.
Yes, exactly.
Do you suppose that you'll get Blindsense to integrate with any of the virtual tabletops?
Yes. Long story short, yes. The issue is, and working with a lot of the blind community, specifically Knights of the Braille is a blind community for people who like to play tabletop games, is when you look at how they manage games and how they play them, the mainstream apps really, Roll20 or Foundry or D&D Beyond, they really don't use them. They're not very helpful for the visually impaired. So while we do want to make it easy to like move to and from platforms like that, and we do have goals for that, it doesn't seem to be like a huge need or a huge what our demographics really even use. One of the big reasons why we want to do that at all is to get these bigger platforms, to get their attention to where they'll think, well, maybe we do want to make this accessible. We're seeing all these people using like these apps or this software. It should be trivial for us to like incorporate what they're doing or ask them to help incorporate it into what we're using to be more accessible.
This one I'm going to ask you guys just because it came to my brain just now. So start to catch you a little off guard with this one. But one of our other children has autism and Tourette's, and a lot of the people that he hangs out with, some are nonverbal. Is there any type of voice output that you guys offer where someone might be using this, but where someone could type in and answer basically within a game? Does that make sense? Am I asking that?
We do have mechanisms in place currently where you can press a button on the phone and it will just say, oh, you rolled a 20 for your attack. And then you can just press another button that says, oh, you rolled 5 damage. And the phone will just read that stuff out for you without you having to talk to it or do anything else beyond that.
That's great.
That would probably fit under what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge communication component that, you might end up finding that parents are interested in just that portion, which sounds funny, but like being able to hear their child being able to have like some what a player might say, basically, it would be very exciting for a lot of other people who would be waiting to have that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something I can touch on is that in the beginning of our development, we focused a lot on blind users. But over time, after developing a lot and doing a lot of research, we realized that a lot of the tools that we're incorporating into D&D through Blindsense can be used for people of many other disabilities that still want to play. One of the biggest things is that Blindsense is fully voice powered. You don't have to actually touch the screen besides the mic button to do the same functions that somebody with motor skills can do. So
that's great.
Well, you hid that light under a bushel. That's a big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge.
We were going to bring it up at some point, but
yeah.
As far as we know, our character sheet, Blindsense, is the first ever voice-powered character sheet. As far as we know, there is no other app or character sheet or program that can do that. So that's something that we're very excited to show everybody, that even fully sighted people with no disabilities just want to use Blindsense just for the voice commands. That's another goal that we think people might be interested in.
I think you are absolutely right. That sounds amazing.
Huh. So you just press the mic button and say cast fireball, and then it just handles the rest.
Exactly right.
Huh.
Paul's like, I'd use that. I love it. That's amazing. So I'm sure people are going to be asking, where is this app? When can I get it? What should they be looking for this app?
Right now, we're working on the Android version. At this point, it's not on the App Store yet. We're releasing it to the testers, but we're actually waiting for our Kickstarter to go live. So we're looking at launching that hopefully during the next convention that we attend, and getting more resources and being able to really finalize the app before we release it to the App Store. Eventually, after the Kickstarter, we'll have the goal date to release the app to the App Store, and then hopefully start development on the iOS app.
I would love to think that each of you guys are billionaires and you're self-funding this completely. But barring that, assuming maybe perhaps you're not, if somebody out there wants to, participate, wants to donate, wants to support you guys, do you guys have any way for people to do that?
We'll have links on our website and our social media. If people want to get involved, if people want to donate, we'll let them know how they can do that. And our website is d404software.com. And then we'll have d404 software for Instagram and Facebook as well.
That's amazing. I was just going to ask you guys, where can people keep up with you and the development of Blindsense? Because I know that people are excited and want to know more about this. So is it the best way is through your website, or would you say you guys are very active on social media?
The best way right now is our Instagram. That's where we get a lot of feedback and a lot of reception from people. We have our website we do have updates on, but our easiest way to reach out to us or to see what's going on is our @d404 software Instagram.
I highly encourage to message us, send us an email. We also have like a very small Discord group that's mostly just for beta testers. So if you're interested in trying the app out or testing it or early access, that would be the best way to do it. We definitely would like more users and feedback.
All right. Well, I hope this podcast reaches somebody that can help provide that feedback, like you say.
I hope like a billionaire hears this and gives you all the money. That's what I want.
You never know. Maybe do you guys? Maybe Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond, so you never know.
You can never know. We're
never
gonna dream
know.
big over here.
Get some of that Hasbro money, right?
Yeah, that's sweet Parker Brothers money. Let's do that. Where are you guys based out of? Just out of curiosity.
Good old Houston. Yeah.
We are also Houston, so we love that. That's amazing. There's so much stuff going on around here, and I know obviously our I'm not going to call it a sister city, that wouldn't be right, but to people who aren't in Texas, maybe they think Austin's down the road. We don't know. There's so much going on in Austin, so you guys must find that there's a lot of community members there as well. Are you finding people here in Houston? That is there a community here that you feel like you're working with? If someone is local and they'd like to maybe even meet up with you guys or in person?
We met a lot of people at the convention, and we are chasing leads down right now to try and reach out to some local communities.
As you mentioned, the Lighthouse communities, there's a Lighthouse of Houston. Surprisingly, someone that reached out to us was it was a librarian who works for the Public Library of Houston and was mentioning all the resources that they just recently pushed through for their libraries to have more blind accessibility gaming, specifically games in libraries.
Whoa,
So
that's cool.
It's surprising the amount of people that are involved on this. It's just again, you scratching that surface to figure out what's going on underneath, right?
Do librarians know what gamers look like and what they sound like while they're gaming?
Librarians are a treasure.
That's funny.
One of the cool things that we found, this is a little bit odd, but through like banned book stuff, is that there are libraries that are nationwide, like the Brooklyn Library. You don't have to live in Brooklyn. Anybody can have a library card to the Brooklyn Library. And so stuff like that, like finding those people who are willing to, be across the whole country, that's such a nice way to do it, not limit it to any particular area.
Caroline collects library cards from places she doesn't live.
It's one of my favorite things to do is to join the local library. If we're visiting there, I always join the Friends of the Library because I like to vote on whether we have a bench in Lockhart, Texas or not. And I do. I said yes to that bench.
You know what? And good on you for it.
Right? I love it. We support the library. They are such a wonderful resource for everyone. So that's one that maybe if you're a listener and you happen to be blind, remember the library. Make sure that you're checking out what they're doing.
Yeah, because, since I was a kid, or visiting a library as an adult versus when I was a kid is night and day, where now, I think the last library I went to was the Sterling Library, where they have little community corners with computers for children to play Minecraft, or they had a section for 3D printers if you needed to use the public 3D printer, which... okay.
Right.
And people learning to do taxes at a table. It's a great network and great resource that I think is often undervalued But I think
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh,
of
yeah.
people also say it's common to say it's undervalued.
Well, we have seen some libraries again because I love going to wacky libraries around our country. We've seen ones where they actually offer, like, you can check out like a tool. Like if you needed to like do something specific and you didn't have the funds to go purchase whatever tool this is, they have like a tool library where you can actually check out like workshop
Saws and stuff?
Yeah,
Wow, that
for
is
real.
very cool.
And like household tools that are maybe very expensive or very difficult or specific. They have like, it's funny. It's like these they're like these clear cubes, and so you can like go along and like they unlock the cube for you, and you actually check out the tool that you need. So yeah, the library is just a myriad of fun things are there.
That is really cool.
I know,
Very
right?
cool.
All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you and learning more about Blindsense. Once again, that's d404software.com, and that leads to all your other socials and things like that.
What is your Instagram, just so that we make sure that everybody hears it clearly?
It is at d404 software.
How'd you guys settle on d404? It sounds like a combination of d4, like the dice nomenclature and rule books, but then 404 is sort of like a page is missing kind of thing.
That is exactly right.
Look at you, Paul. You cracked the code.
We're gamers, we're programmers, so we stick those two together, and D404 was born.
That's amazing. Well, we're so happy that we got to bring this to our listeners. Listeners, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Pod Clubhouse, but especially reach out, of course, to D404 on your own. But we will continue. If there's any follow-up, please contact us, you guys, and let us know. We can do an update podcast with you guys and let all our listeners know what's going on with you guys in Blindsense.
Yeah, thank you very much. This
Thank you.
was very helpful. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much, and thank you guys so much to our listeners.
If you like this podcast, please remember to rate, review, subscribe to it on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you found it. If you have a question for any of us, like Caroline mentioned, come to podclubhouse.com, find this post. You won't have to look hard. Just look for D404. It'll be tagged, or Blindsense, and leave us a question in the comments, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.